My name is Mike Breeze, and since 2001, I have made it my personal mission to help as many people as I can achieve their goals. As a speaker and best-selling author, I now get to travel the country sharing with audiences exactly what it takes to not only set goals, but what it takes to actually achieve them. But let's be real, no one person has all the answers, and that is exactly why I created this channel. In each episode, I sit down with experts from every field, people who've mastered their craft, to bring you the tips, tricks, and success hacks that actually work. All of it in 15 minutes or less. Welcome to the 15-Minute Edge. All right, everybody. So I am super excited about today. And I can honestly say this episode is 1,000% the one that I'm most excited about. Of all the episodes, this is the one. Of course, it helps this is the first one we're doing, but I am excited nonetheless. I am getting to interview one of my good friends whom I've never actually met in person, which is weird. We actually met through a mutual connection at a training, and we just really hit it off. And I'm telling you, this guy is a rock star through and through. Just had a huge speaking engagement. And what really stands out is this isn't your average person. Jim is literally Santa Claus, which is really cool. You've been on the Today Show, or was it Good Morning America? I
It
can't
was
remember.
actually the Today Show,
Is the
yes.
Today Show? Yeah, it was the Today Show. We're gonna put pictures up of different things. You are legitimately the Santa Claus. And one thing that you speak on that I absolutely love, and I think everybody needs more of this, is customer service and customer experience, because that applies pretty much to any business. And so I want you to tell us a little bit, any tips, tricks, hacks that you found along the way. I know your keynote is called Make Memorable Moments. I think it's really good. And so I want to introduce everybody to my good friend, Jim Manning. Jim?
Thank you so much, Mike. Really excited to be here. Jim Manning, and as Mr. Breeze mentioned, I am the official Santa Claus of the city of Boston. If you're pausing for silence, that was the same reaction my parents gave me when I told them that's what I was going to be doing for a living, but here we are. In my 22 plus years as an entertainer and a professional Santa Claus, I've realized what I do a little bit differently than most people is to really make memorable moments. And this relates to customer service and customer experience. So, thank you for the chance to just kind of talk a little bit about what I do, and how I help organizations create unforgettable moments with their customers, their clients, and even their teams. And make memorable moments is all about the power of small, unexpected moments to transform work and relationships. Um,
Awesome.
and there's one story I always like to tell. It actually, when I'm not Santa Claus, I'm a magician. And about a year ago, I was doing a show at the Bierman Autism Center in Massachusetts. And I have this one prop, it's called a change bag. And most magicians are familiar with it. It's not the fanciest magic illusion, but it's a lot of fun. And I brought this nonverbal young man up on the spectrum, and he proceeded to take the bag for me, and he started playing around with it. He was fascinated with it. Now, I'm in the middle of this routine, and I've got 100 people in front of me looking at this. And all of a sudden, I realize like 5 minutes of show is going to go away. Maybe my credibility as a magician is going to go away, but that wasn't what was important. So I started narrating, and this young man like took apart the change bag, and I said, well, okay, there's the pocket you see. Okay, there's the pocket you're not supposed to see, and I lost the trick, but we all really gained something. Like that young man gained, I mean, it was his world. He made the magic his own. His parents knew something was different. And what I really liked about that show is I worked with him on his level, and you know the audience really appreciated what it was because their children are used to seeing the world very differently than other children, and so that's a chance for us to show it's okay to meet people where they are.
Right, right. And I love that. I love that. And so in that moment, you made a memorable moment, something that that kid and not only him, but his parents are going to cherish, for the rest of their life because you went away from what was scripted, away from what you was wanting to do, and you literally made it all about him.
Yes.
And so, can you give us some tips and tricks about how we can apply that same methodology, if you will, or maybe mindset, and how we can apply that in business? So, we've got about 10 minutes here because we want to keep it under 15 minutes.
Okay,
It goes by
great.
quick,
Yep.
but really something that anybody watching this, they could take away that, maybe the tips, tricks, and hacks that you've seen that's like, I really wish more businesses would realize this from Santa Claus's perspective, from somebody that
Yes.
literally makes a living out of doing this.
What I've come up with in the last couple of years is my N.E.D framework, N.E.D. And N.E.D was actually my name before witness protection. So it was really convenient that I was able to name it that. But the N.E.D framework is notice, engage, and delight. And it's what I've done. And just to explain what it is, so when you hear professional Santa Claus, I'm sure you have lots of different reactions. As a full-time Santa Claus, I make about 60 appearances representing 80 to 90 hours in the month of December for Boston. Besides doing the tree lighting on the Boston Common, I do a lot of corporate events. I do private events as well. But this is half of my income is this time of the year, and I take being Santa very seriously. And the reason I meet a lot of Santas, and Santas are always concerned about their beard or their belly or their laugh. And all of these things are important, don't get me wrong. But
Sure.
what really matters is how people feel. And what makes you a good Santa, probably what makes you a great speaker, Mike, is it's never about you. It's always the audience in front of you. So the N.E.D framework is what I've come up with. So it's notice, engage, and delight. And it's just a way that you can have daily interactions with people. So when you meet someone, notice, is there anything they're wearing? Maybe it's a watch. Maybe they have a special, uh, kind of clip. Maybe it's, how you know them. There's always a way to connect. So notice them and then engage. Engagement goes two ways. And most people hear engagement, they think I'm going to engage with the person. I'm going to speak at them. I'm going to talk to them. Engagement is also allowing others to engage with you. And so the other story I like to tell is my dad would tell these stories, and for years and years and years, he was an entrepreneur before anybody was an entrepreneur. He was a headhunter, an executive recruiter, and he loved his job every day because every day he got to go up, he got to get up and he got to go to the city and he got to talk to people and he would hear their stories and tell his. Now, my sisters and I burned out on their stories real quick, and started tuning them out. In 2012, unfortunately, my mom passed away, and I realized my dad was 83 at the time. I didn't have a lot of time with him. And so I started engaging with him. And what I meant is I started listening to those stories again. You know what? I did that out of like some sort of obligation or habit or routine, and that quickly became a joy. And I loved hearing those stories. And, we lost my dad in 2019. And as much as I missed him, I'm glad for those last 7 years, I allowed him to engage with me. Also, funny side story, I learned to ask follow-up questions because he always told his version of the story, and I was always curious what was behind it. And he was telling a story about my grandfather, and then he mentioned casually that my grandfather was a rum runner in during Prohibition. Now, if you're not familiar with rum runners, these were fellas that went out on boats and they would meet the Canadian rum sellers, and then they would bring that back to the United States. So it looks like I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, as it turns out. Now, the last part of my framework, so that's engage, delight. And you would think almost that's the obvious one, but what are some ways we can delight? Do something a little extra. It doesn't have to be huge, just unexpected. Now, Mike, you mentioned I gave this great speech to American Training Inc. A
Yeah.
couple of weeks ago, and I actually asked the audience what were some of the things they've done for people, but what were some of the things that have done for them? And the stories ranged from anything from they noticed a guest of theirs was, kind of upset at the food that was there, and she ran out and got them a slice of pizza. To the delight was they got them a job. So, delight means doing a little something extra. It doesn't have to be huge, just unexpected. It's really it's something that we can all do.
I love that. And I think you hit on something really important too, because a lot of times people think engagement is a one-way street, and it's really not. When you're listening to somebody, it's important, like you said, to ask those follow-up questions to keep the ball rolling. It's all about influence and really. It's about communication and how we interact with people. People love to tell their stories. People love to talk about themselves and their life. And speaking of people's life, you kind of have some big news coming up here in about, I don't know, what, 6 weeks from the time of this recording. You want to share that?
By Well, yeah, I'm happy to. So, as Mike mentioned, by the time you're watching this, I am going to be a father. Good luck to that child. Oh boy. Yes. My wife and I are expecting our first. And of course, we're trying to decide, do we name him Michael
Yeah,
or Breezy? I
I
mean,
think
there's so many
Michael,
choices to
yes.
choose
Or,
from
or
from
Mike Breeze
my
Jr. would
friend.
work.
That wouldn't be awkward at all. So, um, yeah. But yeah, no. So and impending fatherhood has is opening me up to a lot of suggestions, but I'm kind of excited because I think uh you know I think children force you to notice, engage, and delight, and
Yeah.
allow them to do that with you as well. So very excited. And people keep talking about babies not sleeping. When he's born, I'm just going to explain, look, your mom and I need a good night's sleep. And so we just need you to chill for the
Yeah.
next 8 to 10 hours, and then we'll take care of you in the next morning. I'm
And,
sure he'll get it.
I think that will work pretty good. I'm not for
Okay.
sure.
Good.
I tried that with my daughter. She didn't really take to that, but I think for you, it
That's because
may
I didn't say
work.
anything to her.
But what's really cool about this, I can only imagine Christmas time at your house. I mean, that's going to be the coolest thing ever for that child. Um, so y'all haven't picked out a name yet, I don't guess, or you're
We
not
are
dis
working on the name.
you
Yeah.
haven't
Yeah.
disclosed
My
it
wife
yet.
has
That's
vetoed Herkimer, unfortunately. So for all the Herkimers watching this, we tried,
Yeah,
fellas.
we hate that. We hate that. So let me ask you, we've got about 4 minutes left.
Great.
Is there any other specific tips that you want to leave with? And then I also want you to let us know because you're very engaging. You can just tell you're just a lot of fun. I mean, people probably are drawn to you. You have a way, a charisma about you. What would be a perfect client of yours or somebody to have you come in and speak?
Our client is an organization with employees who work directly, excuse me, with the public, who are engaging with different folks every day. And they're trying to find a way to stand out. American Training Inc. there's 59 organizations like them in Massachusetts. They're number one. They were voted best organization to work for in Massachusetts. I think they even made some national rankings on that. And that's an ideal setting for me because I spoke in front of 320 folks a couple of weeks ago. And what I was able to communicate was this: make memorable moments, notice, engage, delight. And I'm just, since we are tight on time, I'm just going to end on why this matters. Now, when we
Yeah,
create memorable moments, we're not just helping others, we're actually making our own lives feel fresh again. And in a world, especially with AI, which I love, but in a world that feels automated and transactional, being human is actually the ultimate differentiator.
sure.
So in terms of memorable moments, there's one last story I'd like to leave. Now,
Yeah.
in the last few years, children have learned to call Santa Claus using Alexa or Siri.
Hmm.
And because my business is Santa Boston, they actually, I receive calls all through the month of December, children wanting to talk to Santa. And that's a privilege and an honor. And I love it. And it's funny. And, I'll be at a restaurant with friends and I'll say, excuse me, I got to get this. Oh, 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 hello, you've reached Santa Claus. Now, in 2019, coincidentally, the year that my father passed away, I get a call from a little boy named Ryan. And Ryan wanted to talk about this green skateboard. He said, Santa, can I get this green skateboard? Now, any good Santa Claus worth their salt will not commit to anything because you don't know what they're going to end it. I'll see what I can do. That's a great idea. I love skateboards. But Ryan and I talked for a few minutes about the skateboard. That was it. Hung up. Didn't think anything of it. A couple of minutes later, his mom calls back. Now, that also happens because the parents see that their child made a phone call and they're wondering, who did they speak with? And she says, who are you? And I said, I explained. I was like, I'm a Santa Claus. I'm guessing Ryan said, call Santa Claus. And that's what the phone did. And she paused and she said, oh, it makes sense that he called you. She then went on to explain that they had just gotten home from his father's funeral. And the person he chose to reach out to was Santa Claus. And he didn't call to talk to me about his daddy. He called to talk to me about a green skateboard. So I want to leave you with this. Memorable moments is something you can do and engage in and make it a regular routine. But you also don't know where you're showing up for people and when and how. And it's a huge opportunity for us as human beings to be there for each other.
Man, I think that's awesome. And you're right. You never know the difference that you can make. just by saying hi to somebody, or the pay it forward, or whatever it is. I always like to try to pay it backwards, get somebody else to pay for mine. um,
I've
but
done that at McDonald's.
we
The
are
guy behind me
unfortunate.
paying. Isn't that
Yeah,
great?
hey, whatever it takes. Unfortunately, we are out of time already. It
You
goes
are
by
fine.
so fast. A recap: you said notice, engage, delight. Those are the three takeaways for today. I am going to put your information at the end of this video, so make sure to grab that if you would like Jim to come speak at your next event, or just check out his website. Just a totally awesome guy. Jim, thank you so much for
Thank you,
joining me
Mike.
today, giving us a few little tips, tricks, and little quick hacks that we can use to better ourselves. And I know you're going to have a ton of information for us. You can't share it all today, but you know what? You are awesome, my friend. So take care and thank you.